I hope this is the show.
This is it.
Oh, it's totally the show.
It's been a great session.
Yeah, that's the show. We're good.
Perfect.
Phoning it in with Craig Rosenberg.
Welcome to GTM Unfiltered, hosted by GTM veterans Judd Borakove, Craig Rosenberg, and Matt Amundson. We make talking business fun and sometimes funny. That's because we're always unscripted, unfiltered, and unlike anything else out there. Get ready.
Yeah, I listened to Purcell's last night on my way home, so I'm primed.
There we go.
Yeah, I thought I was listening to ESPN, listening to that Purcell episode.
I talked to Purcell last night. He's like, dude, how's the show doing? But it was good. Maybe the 10 minutes of college football talk was a little over the top for...
We got some constructive feedback.
Hey, Craig, why don't we figure out who these guys are? You want to do the intro and then we can just keep talking?
Right. Gee, thanks, Judd. Appreciate that. So anyway, yes, thank you guys. We're going to do just a quick intro here. I'm Craig Rosenberg, so listen to my voice. Boom, there you go. And then Judd, why don't you just quickly say something to the crowd?
Hi, Judd Borakove. Listen to my voice.
There you go. Yeah, that's exactly how he talks.
This is my voice is my passport. Authenticate me. What movie is that from?
Yeah. Matt, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Matt Amundson, and I don't know. What is that? That's a deep cut, Justin.
Come on. You can do it. It's Sneakers.
Oh.
Great Robert Redford film.
Oh, nice.
Oh, what was what was the password that they were using?
No, that was literally it.
Too many secrets. Too many secrets.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I can decode anything black box.
The movie take happens every time.
Yeah. So welcome to our movie podcast.
You can tell it's almost the holiday because we're all over the place. It's like, here we go.
It's also early, dude. 8 a.m.
Oh, damn.
So anyway, listen, you guys, today's guests are not just like business colleagues for me, but like really good friends for a long, actually, it's been a long time, you guys. A long time. And so, I have the utmost of respect for both of these guys. And so I'm really excited to bring them on. And I want to thank you guys for coming. But let me just tell you, one of the things, the way I got to know them was they built what I would say is probably the most well-run consulting company. It was LeadMD, and it was literally built like a SaaS company. They had monthly revenue that they were bringing in on a consistent long-term basis. Every time people would come to me and be like, hey, like, teach me, what you guys did at Topo. I'm like, well, you got to talk to Justin Gray or Josh, because these guys built something that is like I've never seen before. And you guys eventually sold that to Shift Paradigm, I think 2021, roughly, right?
Yep.
And if anybody knows, selling a services company is really hard. And so it's really impressive stuff. And so but this will lead us into the topic, what they're doing today. So they've started a VC firm. It's in revenue capital, which could lead to some humor momentarily. But they invest pre-A.
In revenue, as the name suggests.
That's right. You're going to get them in revenue because they parachute in. And then you guys build the go-to-market infrastructure. But here's the thing. With the focus, when they look at the investment and they build the go-to-market, it's for partner-led go-to-market. And that's one of the things that we want to talk about today. So today's guests, everyone, Justin Gray and Josh Wagner, the founders of In Revenue Capital. So why don't you guys say something so we know who's talking?
This is Justin Gray. My voice is my passport. Verify me. I'm glad you did not actually recount the way that we truly met initially, which was you kicking me off of a website. So that was gracious of you.
A lot to learn there. Yeah. That was Josh, actually. Once Josh came in and straightened everybody out.
Right. Yeah.
Josh, it's great to be here too.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it. I'm Josh Wagner, and this is my voice.
So let's just start with this, you guys. Like, one of the things we will like to do is to talk about what the market thinks they're doing right and they're actually doing wrong and what they should go do about it. If you took that question, how would you answer that? And then we'll just go from there.
What the market thinks go-to-market leaders are doing right? Yeah. Well, I'll probably steal both Josh and I's answer so we've got this big kind of maxim that we often put out there, which is like, you have to give to get. And I would say like the overwhelming theme in go-to-market, in partnerships, you can see it across the board where you want to become part of this, large ecosystem. You're trying to become a preferred vendor, preferred partner, and it's always you give and then you'll get, right? Like you give us leads, where's the source revenue? And then you can become, one of our partners. Will certify you, we'll put you through the engine and so on. So I would say that by far is the largest, paradigm shift that we see that needs to happen.
But generally speaking, I would say if I looked at like one of the things that's really interesting is that in your history, you guys helped build inbound and outbound machines. And now basically what, if I look at the narrative now, it's like, look, that's inefficient. But I'd love to talk about that because we talk a lot about it. It's particularly on the marketing side, how Judd will talk about on the SDR side, by the way, no doubt, is that the way the playbook that we've run for years on the go-to-market side is not working anymore. And it's, just looking at how you guys are talking about it, you were like part of building that infrastructure. And
You're
now
part of the problem.
Yeah. And now it's becoming efficient. So tell us more about that. And then we can lead back into partner led.
Well, I think, you're talking about inbound, outbound, and then, you got this partner wrapper now. None of them are really overly successful in a vacuum. All three of them still exist to a certain extent. But I think you should think of partnership as almost that wrapper around everything. Because if you look at, you mentioned Lead MD, like we didn't have a partner team. That wasn't a part of our go-to-market. We had a sales team that focused heavily on our partners and getting heavily ingrained in the field. That's where I think when you think about the mistakes that companies make, they start at the executive layer, they sign some agreements, and they think magic's going to happen. Honestly, if you go down to the field level, start in the field, make some friends, give to get, like Justin said, you're going to get a groundswell of activity that produces results that might then get the executive team's attention, that it might make it worthwhile to put some agreement in place. But that all surrounds what's happening with inbound, what's happening in outbound. How do you make your inbound, your outbound, their outbound more impactful by doing it together and focusing on things in a real strategic partner-led, we'll call it, way.
Yeah, I mean, if you can bring relationships into, as the X factor there, like that's going to change all of those motions. So it's, it's not that, we have to abandon everything that we've relied on as demand gen engines, but if you can focus that universe, that segment on folks that you already know, that you understand their pain, you know how they buy, the who's important within the organization for your buying process. I mean, that's going to be so much more effective. So, and it's not, Josh mentioned sales, like we ran and we promote organizations to run a partnership motion is truly ubiquitous across the organization, right? It's sales, marketing, customer success, product, executive, right? Like it's that truly threaded approach. And I think when all those, engines are firing on all cylinders, like it's so much more efficient, and which is why, of course, we're gravitating towards this for our companies and even in our own motion. Like if we wanted to go out there and operate in 10 portcos at the same time, like we just wouldn't be able to do it. Like there's not enough hours in the day. If you can amplify that with partner relationships and get people truly co-selling and working for one another, that's how that equation stacks up.
I want to jump in because first off, I'm on the over when it comes to partner. I think it's a must.
Yeah.
What's the line?
He's doing a lot of work there, actually. No, I mean it. Like people set this stuff up too. So
yeah, and so I'm all in there, and I think it's absolutely imperative that people start thinking about it. I think some of the challenges where people run into things is they don't understand the different kinds of partner motions that can actually be set up, or the different ways to set them up, or how to change the mindset of your internal org. Because a lot of people think partner is I get a partner guy, and what you guys just said is always the case. There's always sales, marketing, and CS, but the vast majority of the time, it's one guy doing everything, or woman, or person, right? And the big change I think that needs to actually occur is the shift in the educational component of like, what does it really need to work? And what is the ROI, the return from doing it? Because all the companies I see who are running strong partner motions, whichever one it may be, it's probably one of the most powerful motions out there, but it's also the most challenging and hardest to get going. So when you guys are working with, your portco, when you're working or talking about it, like, how are you guys addressing this kind of educational deficit and change of mindset? How are you getting them over that hump?
Yeah, I think, Josh, I'll throw you into the bus here because I think the most
Please.
effective way, quite frankly, has been to show them what it looks like. And so like we've got Josh in Portco's right now selling, with their sellers, with their executives, and just trying to provide that context, because without it, you're right, it's really difficult. Everyone kind of runs back to their pre-learned behaviors and so on. So Wags, I don't know if you want to kind of detail some of the learnings there.
Yeah, it's not stepping over the easy things that could create tangible wins, right? Like you say, creating this motion that everyone gets behind, that is a lot of work, right? Like all of that stuff takes time and it needs to happen, right? But I'll give a very tactical example. So we're helping a Portco get this partnership off the ground with a consulting firm that consults in their space. They're a SaaS company, consulting company, which obviously we're a fan of because, we have this consulting company and we sold through SaaS companies. And we're talking to them. They're interested in us. They want to go down the path of signing, ROFRs and all this stuff. Like, listen, let's just pump the brakes. Let's find a customer that is struggling with something and let's get it going. Okay, fine. They pretend that they're going to send us a customer. It hasn't happened yet. So I just sent them an email to, hey, here's 15 companies in our pipeline. Are any of them your customers that you talk to? Like, oh yeah, 8 of them are. Cool. Let's set up some joint calls. Like, that simple. That's not a massive like overhaul of the company or anything like that. That's just like something very tactical that you can easily step over and just say, here's my pipeline. Are any of them your customers? Can we set up calls? And then calls result as come as a result. There's value in that.
Yeah. So, but pretend you guys aren't there. Because look, I'll just start with it. You put out a LinkedIn. You're like, tell us your biggest partner horror stories. And I didn't want to, there's some things I want to write that I can't, but it's like all of them. Because what Judd said's true. Everyone says we have a partner strategy. They hire the one person and they do deals and like they sign up partners and that's it. Like it fails because everyone thinks it's set it and forget it, or you hire the one person to go do it and it's just going to turn into magical revenue. And so let's just, if you were going to do the start from the start, like resource wise, what do you need? Let's just start there. If you were going to build it without, I know you guys build it, but not everyone has Josh. So like, how do you start this and set this up in the right way?
Yeah. So I think like the fundamental is value proposition. So it's not hiring, right? Like in fact, I would even take that completely off the table. Like your partner manager, your partner rep, whatever you want to call them, are the employees that you already have. Right? Like those are all touch points at the field. So let's just take it through the AE lens. Like the biggest challenge I've seen historically is that people think about partners through industry verticals. They think about them through skill sets, right? Like you have to centralize that understanding around value prop. What, does your solution and their solution together provide to that end user, right? What is that value? And the more you can make that tangible in terms of actual ROI. So there's a storytelling component, which is actually what, people, over the water, virtual water cooler these days, like what do they actually talk about that partner does? Like why are we stronger together? And then there's the kind of mathematical portion of it. Like what does that add up to in terms of returns? If you can centralize that first asset, right? And then translate that down to each one of those touch points, again, sales, marketing, customer CS, they need to understand how they're going to leverage that value prop to engage, folks that they're already talking to, right? But like, you have to change the narrative around like, oh, I want a partner for healthcare that does CRM implementation, right? Like that's completely the wrong way to think about it. And so, and again, there's a framework for this because I say value prop and that can mean like a million different things. Like you have to change that perception of how you engage and talk about partners. I think that really starts with that joint value proposition. It's a really strong story that's backed up by, tangible math.
And then how do you choose the partners that you think you should start with that will make you most successful? And then as part of that, Judd had asked, like, there's different types of partners too. Like, is there some that are more favorable than other, or it depends? What does that look like?
Well, from a types of partner standpoint, like you really have to think about where you are as an organization and your maturity, right? I think a lot of small startup companies, especially what we deal with, they think that, oh, there's a resale partner out there. I don't have to hire a huge sales team. They're just going to go sell it for me. And it's this magic wand. I mean, that's a very mature education, sales enablement motion that they don't have the chops to do. I mean, it's just not going to happen. So we think of it as, resale is a type of partnership, co-marketing, co-selling, and referral, right? Like those are the top 4 ways that we think
on the go-to-market side.
On the go-to-market side, right? Integration partners and things like that. Yeah. So really being honest with yourself about your level of maturity, what your expectations are for those partnerships, and where do you fit in that spectrum is the first thing you really have to think about in order to get anything off the ground.
But you asked a great question there, Craig, which is like, how do I identify partners? And like, this is the most no-brainer question that everyone asks. It's like, your customers will tell you who your best partners are, right? And it like that so let's say I sell to marketing and like the CMO, like what other trusted vendors do they already have? Are they already utilizing that are adjacent to your solution? So in Josh's example, right? Like this particular provider, their software requires an input, as most softwares do, right? Someone has to create the model that gets put into their solution. Well, who creates that? These large healthcare consulting firms. Great. That's a ideal partner for us because our solution is dependent upon them. And our solution gives them visibility into what they normally would have no lens into, right? Like they hand it over to the CFO. A year later, they ping them and say, how's that plan working that we created for you, right? Like, and it goes into a spreadsheet historically. So like, it's just such a win-win from, a solution perspective. Like we need each other and our ideal customers are already using these partners. And so it just becomes kind of a no-brainer when you put the customer at the center. Like I put that up on LinkedIn a while ago and a unnamed individual chimed in. It's like, oh, ideal partner profile exercises are garbage. It's like, well, of course you can say anything's garbage when you do it wrong, right? Like, yes, you need to be looking at the customer and using that as your North Star to select your partners and then, gradiate that along an ideal partner exercise, right? Like the customer is going to tell you.
Well, sorry, really quick, Jay, because I wanted to, Matt is the one, but I mean, you guys in your movement, like initially Matt was telling me about the marketplaces and like, Amazon, like for some of these guys, like the Amazon, the AWS marketplace is like the big money maker, right? Or Google Cloud. I mean, actually just Matt, that's been a thing of yours in the last couple companies you've been at, right? It's just working in the marketplaces.
Yeah, Very Good Security. We saw a ton of success from that, not just because being there like gives you a level of credibility, but because people can write down their enterprise money essentially against the product, and like you put yourself in a competitive sales cycle with a like really rough competitor, and you're both listing a product for plus service for $250,000, and they can write down $200K of that. So all they got to do is write you a check for $50,000. Like there's a ton of advantages for that. Now it doesn't work for every type of company, and like the massive lift in terms of resource, time, and energy in order to get yourself there, like can feel so daunting during the process that you wonder if it's going to be worth it. And then once it's done, if you're still not pouring a ton of energy into that partnership, it's still not worth it, right? So I think one of the myths, and both of you guys have done a good job of dispelling it, is that like you can just sign a partner and it's going to turn into revenue, and that's just not the way it works. And partnerships is such a tactical day-to-day. You got to be top of mind with that partner, that most people are a little bit unprepared for the amount of energy that has to go into it. Another example when I was at Very Good Security was Visa was a great partner to us, threw us the best deals that we had, but they never picked up the phone and were like, hey guys, we got another one for you. Mm-hmm. But if we picked up the phone and met with our partnerships counterpart there on a weekly basis, they'd be like, you know what? I'll forget to think about you guys, but here's one that would be perfect for you. And so I think people are so used to building pipeline through automation, through systems, that they're not prepared for how much just hand holding it requires in order to get a good partnership motion off the ground and then sustain the momentum that you have.
Yeah, I think it's a huge shock to the system when you get exposure. I do want to address the marketplace thing before I forget it, though. Like, again, if you put the customer at the center of that, and you understand that your customer trusts and values and is engaged with marketplaces, and they've got this, economic incentive to, in terms of how they think about budget and what they get for reimbursement and so on. Like, again, that's going to lead you in that direction. Like, this is a great, essentially co-selling and co-marketing channel. But to your point on like, what is the level of lift? Like, for the first 3 years, people thought we were Marketo employees at LeadMD. Like, we were in their offices so much, right? Like, and I'm in Arizona. Like, the company is in Arizona. Marketo is in San Mateo. Like, we literally like lived at that hotel. I forget what it is, like a
San Mateo Marriott,
shitty Marriott, right? Like, but like, we were over there all the time, just walking the halls. Because you're right, we'd walk up to someone, hey, what are you working on? Oh, wow, you know what I mean? You'd walk away with 2 deals from that exercise. So there is just a lot of top of mind awareness that has to be generated by being front and center in front of someone.
So I'm gonna jump in because there's a bazillion things that Matt, you brought up and that have come up here. And Matt, I'm gonna come back to you because I want to get into partner marketing. Go ahead.
I just want to double down on what Justin said, which is I was an employee at Marketo at the time, and I thought that Justin and Josh worked at Marketo.
There you go. And there you go. Hey, look, first off, that's a great partnership and a great relationship because you guys did something. There's so many nuances to partnership that most people don't think of. Like, the bigger the player, the less likely they are to anything with you. You're basically leveraging the relationship. You're a part of their ecosystem. And a lot of people try to separate ecosystem from partner. I think that they're part of a partner motion. They're just different. The other piece, any motion takes a lot of work. And for some reason, like the way that everybody thinks they're a marketer, everybody thinks that partner is easy, that it's a plug and play kind of situation. And they forget the fact that if you plan on rolling out any motion, you have to unify about how you're going to do it. All the pieces have to understand. There has to be that unified understanding of what's your part, what should it look like, what are the expectations? And that's the biggest miss that I see with partnership all the time. You guys were smart. You went in and you said, hey, they're a bigger player. We need to be active, right? We need to be there. Now, most people go, oh, they know we have a piece of paper signed. This is a done deal. We don't have to sit. Right. We're just going to sit back and wait for the money. And that's the worst approach to partner you could ever have. It's like thinking that if you're going to do inbound and all you're going to do is throw up some SEO and wait.
Yeah. I guess my question is, does that apply to anything in life in terms of like set it and forget it? I feel like it's like such a just unspoken goal for everyone. And I can't think of a single thing that ever just kind of is on autopilot and consistently works. So
everybody loves to use the terminology, right? From like fantasy football to business. It's everything in between. It's like, oh, this is a set it and forget it. And you're like, really?
Well, that was a problem with marketing automation, right? Like it was this whole misnomer that we were going to automate our marketing, and it just made things more complicated, created a bigger spider web, more data, more workflows, more this, more that, more.
Wait, you mean AI? AI,
yeah.
like drop, right?
Can you tell Josh sold marketing automation consulting?
Yeah, exactly. I needed to make it sound more complex than it really was.
And on the marketing front, though, and I'd love to hear this actually from you, Matt. How are you guys generally engaged? So coming from the CMO perspective, right? Partner gets introduced. How do they bring it to you? How do they sell you internally to give resources to help this motion take place, move forward? Because I see so many orgs where, of course, marketing and sales should be a part of it, but they kind of step back and be like, I've got a partner marketer. They just do it all. I have no focus on that. Like, what's your take, and how do you do it right from a marketing perspective?
Well, I don't know that I know how to do it right. I know how I've done it in the past, which is, I always think about categorizing different partnerships into different partnerships, right? Some are co-selling, some are co-marketing. The ones that are co-selling, like I need to see from the partner team what their expectation is around revenue that we're going to generate, and that gives us an opportunity to think about, how many resources we want to deploy there. The co-marketing stuff is generally the stuff that I get excited about because if there's an opportunity for me to be successful by association, I'm all about that.
Yeah.
And then the way I usually manage that is, larger brands, and I'm typically at the smaller brand. They're like, yeah, we'll do stuff, but they don't want to do it. They'll show up, they'll sign off. And so the way I sort of integrate the companies that I work for into larger organizations is I just come out and say, I'll do everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll do everything.
Huge. That was our
yeah.
was our total strategy at Lead MD. We'd be like, listen, if it wasn't a requisite that they had to co-fund something, but hey, are you interested in co-funding it? Like what, let's get the strategy together. How are we approaching it? Who's our list? All right, now, would you like us to come in and run that end to end? And like 99% of the time, they're like, yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And so
We're
that's
just more nimble.
just the value.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think the other thing too is what's really important nowadays. I think this wasn't really a part of my strategy in the past, but I like to show up with the story too. Like the whole thing built, done for the most part, and just like, hey, this is how we work together. This is why our products are aligned, our visions are aligned. This is the future that products like this are building together, and this is why our target ICP and personas would care about it. And they're just like, oh, yeah, cool, great, yeah, go for it. So literally, it's can I get a quote out of you, and would you mind maybe putting this in your social feed? You'll do that? Spectacular. We'll do everything else.
Yeah, but what's missing, man, like that needs to be in the field too. Like every time I talked to someone when you were at Marketo, right? Like I was telling that story to every single new AE that I was meeting every single time so that they felt like there was some value in talking to me, right? Like it was constant.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's what I did because Judd is actually helping people on the co-selling side too. So like as we go down the line here, it's like I felt like in the start, Josh, you were implying maybe that you do deals in the field first before you sign a big agreement, or is that not what you meant, or is that what?
No, that's absolutely what I meant. Like if you can go make friends in the field and come up with a solution together that's tangible, and now you have this customer output, to Justin's point earlier, that you can take up the chain and say, this isn't just us pushing paperwork. We do this, you do this, together we do this, and we sold it to somebody. Right. How much more powerful is that to the CEO of even a mid-market company than just, hey, let's push some partner paper?
I think the big takeaway here is people are lazy. Give them the work, and they're probably going to say yes.
Yeah. I think that's been a theme for the last 7 minutes, actually. Package it up. But that does tie back, Josh, to like how you were saying with what Matt was, like, look, we create this storyline and value prop. Partner marketing will, try to create a relationship from the marketing side, but then on the co-selling side, we take that story out to the reps. So do you actually just look up their reps of a place you think you should partner and just reach out to them?
Yeah, I've done that. The partner people can be gates, especially in these big companies. Like, when Marketo got acquired by Adobe, it became freaking impossible to get in front of an Adobe rep. These partner people were just gatekeepers. They're like a secretary. Like, oh no, you can't talk to Mr. So-and-so rep. He's way too important to talk to you. Get the fuck out of here. Like,
one thing though, what I'm finding, because I think that used to be the case, I think we're starting to get better access and more understanding in the partner space now that a lot of these communities have popped up, movements around partner in general, where now they're like, wait a minute, we've been relegated to like nothingness for years, right?
Yeah, they're like an SDR.
Right. And so they're going, SDR. Of course I'm going to play gatekeeper because it's the only power I have. Mm-hmm. Now I think they're like, how do I unify with more and expand how people think of partner? I mean, now we're seeing like chief partner officers show up in Fortune 500 companies. We're seeing partner reps get elevated to CRO titles. So, I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff that's going on. I think you guys kudos, honestly, because I'm glad that somebody kind of went all in and said, we're going to invest here and build it because there's a need. But what's your take also on the same way that most motions kind of go through cycles, right? Do you think this is hot now as, let's say, SDR, I'm just saying that because Craig will make fun of me later, was at one point, right? Like, is this kind of, it's happening now, but it's going to cool later? Or do you guys think this is something that if done right could actually just be a motion that works into perpetuity?
It's relationships. It's building like when is building relationships ever like crash and burn, right? Especially, personal business, it doesn't really matter. Like the people that I sold with at Marketo 10 years ago, I still talk to at whatever company they're in now. I can get ideas from them. We might flip each other customers. Like, oh, you should talk to so-and-so. Those relationships still persist, right? And, I could consider any one of them partners that, Craig, same thing, right? Like, oh, you should talk to Rosenberg. He's doing cool stuff at scale, right? Like that stuff happens all the time. So, I don't think it's ever going to go out of style. And, what's the known where salespeople are lazy, right? And that's totally true. Like, I don't want to go make 100 outbound calls. Like, I'd rather make a good targeted call, talk to someone, get some intelligence, and call 5 partners after that and say, hey, I talked to so-and-so. It's such and such. What do you know? And then surround that deal or potential deal with a bunch of intel before I go make 5 more calls into that company and try to figure stuff out. Companies are just measuring the wrong things, right? If you can get intel faster through relationships, why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah. I mean, there will be a hype cycle as software always does, as like folks try to distill portions of partnership led or nearbound or whatever you want to call it into the lowest common denominator. And we've seen that already with, target account list exchanging. Like everyone wants to, align their target account list. Like that's one aspect. We saw it with marketing automation. We saw it with sales engagement. Like you'll always see like software try to latch on, and there'll be some value in that, and there'll be a lot of wayward damage that falls out as well. But like the fundamental there, like, is something that has been, and I was telling you guys previously, I listened to Ted's episode that you guys did. Like what he's talking about in terms of like good consultative selling, like this is what good consultative sellers do. Like they understand the buyer, the business, and the best way to do that is through people that already know them.
Yeah. So wait, so you guys just going on the co-selling side. So I got X number of reps and I want to start doing this partner-led strategy. Do I tell them, look, here are the partners you should go pursue, go reach out to these folks? And do I train them on the messaging with the partners? And then Josh, you said you got to measure different things. See, I shorted the system.
Didn't have the glasses.
Responded to the DHL is the new one. He wrote me and said, hey, should I respond to this? I'm like that. But the email is a Gmail address. So could just get like in the weeds here, because this is really important. When we're co-selling, like what are the mechanics here? Because once again, we're just going to get in trouble again and be like, oh, we figured it out. Like the sellers have to go it's like, no, you got to enable them the same way you do how they engage with customers, right? So like, what's the playbook there for the reps?
I mean, there's got to be some executives, like, from my standpoint, I was a seller under Justin. So I had to know what my target was. Like we had an ICP that was narrowed down by types of partners. So even when we would do outbound stuff or generate content for inbound, it was all targeting companies that either had Marketo, a competitor to Marketo, a bolt-on to Marketo, right? Like so we had this technographic profile that filled out the type of companies we targeted. Then we also had our, a mid-market company, so much revenue. We had all that kind of stuff. But I wasn't just out there calling every company possible. Justin had gone through the effort to create an ICP of the types of companies that partnered into where we were going. So I had some direction, right? It wasn't just craziness.
Wait, you can almost take Josh's like first day as a guide around this, right? Like his first day, I gave him a list of like, not here's the partners you're going to go after, but here are the reps within our key partners. And you're getting on a plane tomorrow and you're going out and meeting each one of these. And actually, Craig, I think you were one of the folks on that list. Like,
Josh, that was really good. Yeah.
So I mean, I think what I really like to do is kind of beta test things, like build a proof of concept, take, it depends on the size of the company, but like one or a group of your most advanced sellers, like folks that you can indoctrinate with this concept, and then align them to, if they're geo-based or like just folks that make sense within their territory, sellers within those partners, right? here's what I want you to do. I want you to make a relationship there. Here are some, again, give to get. Like, here are some potential prospects for them that are within our customer base. Like, you've got that in your bag. Like, let's collaborate on these couple like layup type of deals, right? Like, we've got great relationships. They're open to introductions. We know they're struggling with something, and then use the outcome of that process as the case study to roll that out to larger and larger rings of that onion, right? Because to the point earlier, like, people, for as much as we've done in partnerships, people still don't know what this looks like when run well. And, I will say this, like, it is a never ending maturity process. Like, you can always get better at co-selling. Like, we all have egos. We've been taught, to hero sell the hell out of everything. Like, I'm going to come in and I'm going to be the champion for this company. Like, co-selling and partner-led really requires that, like, you're going in together. And that is something that you've got to practice with that and really master that over time. But if you can start with like that really good example of, here's a baseline, now build on top of that, mature your own motions and teach your teams based on that example. I love that kind of proof of concept process.
I think this is also where the platforms are starting to come in to make all of this easier, right? When you've got like the Crossbeams and Reveals of the world that are showing you, hey, these are our best potential opportunities with existing partners. Now, obviously, it means you have to have partner in place. Everybody's got to be open to this. But it's interesting because now you can kind of just say, hey, look, we've closed these and they're open for them. They've closed these and they're open for us. These are easy conversations. You can align reps around them. But one thing, so we're definitely doing rollouts of the playbook to kind of make this happen. And the big challenge is getting the reps to buy in initially to see the real value in speeding up their sales cycles, improving deals, creating trust. And I will say the easiest that I've seen so far, though, have been the larger companies that have massive expansion internal opportunities.
Sure.
Where you're not just co-selling one time, you're actually within orgs multiple times and building a stronger relationship with your counterpart. And so that's where I always say, like, if you want to test this, find those type of opportunities that allow the reps to build relationship too, where it'll actually just empower the entire org overall. Because now they're saying, look at what we've done. And when they elevate in the rep status, right? Hey, they might have been a top rep and now they're even killing their number more. You're like, wait, something's going on here. And it opens that door. So I love it. I love it.
Selling net new is always the sexiest, but it's also the hardest.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there's no reason, like, if you can get people to care about expansion and renewal and things like that, you're going to find some wins a little bit easier, not easy, but easier than just like, hey, let's go take down a bunch of net new. It's fucking hard, man.
Yeah. Well, I do think that will be potentially one of the outcomes of all this attention around partner, right? Is an adjustment and a change in methodology to how we quota and incentivize frontline sellers. I think you're going to see that extend more into, all right, you own that logo for the first 6 months, the first year, right? Like, and have that health and expansion target, right? Then I think that better motivates the seller to do what's right in the eyes of the customer rather than just, knocking down logos.
Yeah, it's been a long time for me since I've really dug in, but in the this will age me in the 2000s, I did a ton of data storage and security sort of go-to-market implementations. And the best sales leaders would be focused on partners early, but they would basically tell the reps, I'm going to comp you fully, but you're going to get this thing to like a true opportunity level. And then you're going to bring in the partner and just show them, hey, look at this. I just made you a ton of money. And he's like, I remember one of them just said, no cut to your commission. I'm going to eat this. Right. But like, we are going to take every opportunity we get initially, and we're going to give it to these preferred partners. We're going to bring them in, but we know we're going to win because, and you had just so many, those folks had been at it for a long time in the old school way, trying to get CDW or, these folks to go sell their stuff. But the concepts are similar to what you and Judd were just saying, Josh, which is like, there's one thing to go take them a story. And then, the rep's going to be like, okay, another story and then more work. Right. Instead, we start this relationship with like, I can make you a lot of money. let's go do this opportunity I have in your patch right now that we're going to go win. Because like I was saying, those folks had scars on their back from making partnership deals and not having anything. Like a true give is to make people more money. And so, so as you guys were talking, I was like, wow, that, that's one thing we got to keep in mind when we roll out this partner stuff, and the comp we give them is really important, especially early. You're going to have to eat, in my opinion, you're going to have to eat some comp. Right. And then number two, what Judd and Josh are saying, that combines with this idea of like, let's go give them some, like, let's go bring some meaningful things to them. Then, the give, that's like the true give. So I don't know. I mean, that I'm just relating back what I had heard.
Well, yeah, something to that. Like, so Matt, I don't remember what team you're on when you're at Marketo, but like even, Marketo was orders of magnitude larger than B2B, right? So even there, that partnership, we weren't going to just be the partner omnipresent everywhere. Like, it just wasn't going to happen. So you think about, this is maybe like 15, 16, 17, Matt. You had the Ray Bill's team in the SMB, right? That was just volume velocity. Matt Hines was kind of getting that enterprise deal going. That was the big guys. And so in the volume and velocity business, professional services and consulting is a bad word. Like, sure, I was in their way. I was going to slow them down. Like, they might get a phone call on Friday and close it on Tuesday, right? Like, so I was bad. In the enterprise, this thing was just like getting rolling. So those guys that, what are they? I'm trying to remember some names, but those guys, like, they were in this one throat to choke mindset. I'm going to take my professional services guy down from floor 6. And I'm going to grab his neck and bring him down and tell him to do whatever I say to do to get this deal done. I can't control you that way. So you're bad. Right. So where do I fit? If you remember, there was this little mid-market team. There was like 7 people on the team. Brandon Delgadio and a few folks.
Chip Lewis was on that team.
Yeah, I made hay there for 3 years. Like, because they weren't getting any love from enterprise solution consulting, but they were doing enterprise-like deals. They weren't doing SMB, like highly volume velocity, but they weren't, like, they were kind of out in no man's land. So I just made friends there for like 3 years and just destroyed, because I could give them that kind of like value engineering light that they couldn't get from the enterprise team. And it was of value to them, right? So you kind of have to find your lane as much more.
Yeah. That is just like a sales rep. Like, you're going to go in and understand their business, figure out where where their holes are, and go fill those holes. And that's the co-selling that's going to be most successful.
Right.
That's amazing.
Yeah, you have to have a value to not only the buyer, the end user, but to the rep that you're trying to partner with. To your point around comp, and to Josh's point around, like, what are they not getting that's hurting them and harming them from getting deals?
Yes, I got 2 theories. One is the current sort of partner executives are just approaching, this is a widespread accusation, but they just approach the deal the way you guys are talking right now. I'm just like, I have Josh up here and Judd down here, and is that they're approaching it from a deal. You guys are approaching it from like, there's real strategy on how we actually help that partner and how the co-selling strategy comes into play. I think that's brilliant. And I'm not sure though that's the approach that most partnership leaders take. And then the second thing is on partner marketing. We mentioned what I've seen is partner marketing is a field marketing person, not a strategic. Like, so, and they're just looking to do so. Matt, you could see like he's thinking strategically on the relationship and how we package things up and work with those folks. But I'm not sure in either case, on the partner executive side or on the partner marketing side, that we're thinking about things right. Just hearing you guys talk. I don't know, Matt. I mean, was that a true accusation on partner marketing?
It's a true accusation. Like, I do
stamp it.
Let me get my glasses on in celebration. Okay.
I mean, I'd be the first person to admit that I'm not the greatest like partner person on the planet, partner executive on the planet. I know where I see the value in it, and maybe that's short-sighted, but like, I am often the CMO that thinks about like, how do I get popular by being associated with the right people? Number one, and number two, like, how do I help streamline the process for a partner to sell more with us, right? So whether that's over-indexing on enablement or over-indexing on Like, do people still do spiffs for their partners? Like,
Yeah.
you still do the like, hey,
We
anybody?
did.
Yeah,
sure.
We did. You know what I
you
mean? Like we ran contests. You know,
Yeah.
for reps who referred the most business to us. We go, and that's another like hack. Like sponsor the RKO, SKO, whatever they want to call it, like as a partner. Like oftentimes, like that's total greenfield where you can just go in there and be like, hey, is anyone sponsoring your RKO? Can I do your big dinner or whatever? And then we would hijack their awards. So they'd do their awards and be like, hey, can we get 10 minutes at the end of your awards? Be like, hey, you know, Brandon, you know, Matt, Jessica, right? Like, yeah,
bottle of whiskey and AirPods, baby.
Agent. Yep, exactly. Like, just, you know, bring them something like, get to learn, like, or do they frown on like monetary? Do they want, like, are they cool with gifts? But you got to cross all those bridges. But then you're actually like creating this little, you know, reward ecosystem in there that people look forward to. And we took people to Lollapalooza, Napa for wine tasting, Tahoe for skiing. Like, we like created a little like, you know, sales competition around it.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think you guys also call out without calling it out, that I think where things are very strong for partner is you guys think of partner like they're a customer, right? And you treat them in the way, which means they feel special, they feel engaged, they feel like the trust being built. You know, because it's really interesting when you think about it. First, you got to sell them on the value that you can create together, right? Then you got to get them to take action, right? Hey, use our product, do our thing, do, you know, take whatever. And it's the same motion, just a slight shift. And I always say that, you know, like this is one of those things that if you approach it any other way than they're like that customer mentality, you're going to kill that relationship, because then it's always what's in it for me, what's in it for me. And like you guys have, you know, shown numerous times, like you'll walk the halls, you get involved, you make it happen. And that's what you have to do with customers. Sometimes you have to make it happen. You've got to give. Because I'm a big believer in give without expectations. I love what you guys are saying. And I think everybody on the show really is. What do you think the biggest challenge right now moving forward with this motion is going to be? Because it's getting a little momentum, but I've seen this happen before and then fizzle. So what do you think the biggest challenge coming in this motion is going to be?
Go ahead, Wags, and then I'll follow you up.
Like anything, you're gonna get this stable of talking heads, and maybe that's us. We're just talking heads right now, with best practices, right? That don't have any real teeth behind them, and you're gonna have a playbook, like you know, like you said, you know, you're rolling out playbooks, you're doing it, and this and that. But like, how do you make it tangible in all levels of an organization? I think that's the thing that you really have to think about. Is at every section, whether it's executives, customer success, sales, marketing, what's the one tangible thing we can do that will make someone feel like there's value there? And if we don't do that thing, then nothing's going to happen. And I feel like that's what happens when you get a lot of best practices getting rolled out. It's just nothing happens.
Yeah, I was going to say it's cultural. You know what I mean? Like it truly is cultural within an organization. Like our onboarding process included calling 2 contacts from our partner for every employee that came in, right? Like, hey, I want you to call, you know, depending upon where you're at, like, hey, these are your 2, you know, buddies that you're essentially going to, you know, find out what they're doing on a day-to-day basis, what they're struggling with, how they touch our joint customer, you know, and now that's going to be your relationship for the life of your time, you know, at the organization. Like just little things like that drive down, like we are a partner-centric org. We don't win anything alone. And if we do, that's a bad way to start a customer relationship. And that's what I worry about, which is like, it's not just top down, it's not just bottom up. Like it truly has to be across the organization. And that's difficult to do when, you know, you're starting from a position where that hasn't been the historical.
Yeah. That's amazing. Hey, by the way, I just on the Lollapalooza thing that I wasn't invited to, I got lunch. That was good. Really good. And dinner, Dreamforce, your dinner.
Yeah.
Enjoyed those. But so on the concert, who was invited to these like events you would do? Were they future partners or were they best performing?
No, they were best performer AEs.
Okay.
That one in particular was a Marketo AE event.
Okay. All right.
I got a miniature bonsai tree from them.
Yeah.
What?
We did 250 bonsai trees. That's
I got one.
Wait, hot take. Best gift you've gotten from a partner or company. Go.
Miniature bonsai tree.
Oh, thanks. I got like a green jacket or hat. Okay, good. Yeah. Actually, I got a brisket from Good Company in Houston.
Oh, nice.
I will give Kyle a shout out from Sales Loft. Like, apparently his wife and her family own a farm, and he sent these tangerines out. Those are the best fucking tangerines. Like, I literally have been online. You can't get them on the West Coast. Like, I'm gonna fly back to Florida and get some of these tangerines. Like, delicious.
Those were the best. I mean, and I couldn't understand them. They were like seedless, like perfect peels.
It's the zipper skin. Like,
he's got a patent on it.
Yeah.
I mean, I would take that orange.
Tangerine, the tangerine brand matters.
Yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable. By the way, for the rest of you, please don't send those little tangerines. Like, this was a
cuties.
Cuties are terrible.
Yeah, please don't do that.
No cuties.
Judd, what's your best partner gift you ever got or gave?
Gave was a guitar.
What?
Found out.
I've known you guys, all you guys for years. And I'm not. What's it like?
Found out the CEO was an avid guitar player, and did a little bit of research. Found out, got one custom made, and had it sent.
Wow.
That sealed the deal. Received. I don't really get lots of gifts, so I can't say that I've had a killer one. So if anybody wants to send me something, go ahead.
There we go.
Craig, I delivered a lot of whiskey to the old dentist's office that you guys used to office out of. All right.
The
I just want to give myself some credit.
You know what? I'm taking all back. You know, if everyone, I don't want to misrepresent here. Justin gave me some of the best whiskey all time. I had, when we sold and we were moving out of that office, I had the most important part of me moving was my liquor collection I had gotten from you. And then eventually people started to figure that out and they would just give me whiskey. So I had like, it was an amazing collection in there. Cool. So the one thing, I know we're at time, you guys, but I do want to ask, is there anything we should think about from a metrics perspective? Like, because you and Judd were nodding your head on the way we measure. And like, I'm thinking initially or long-term, like, is there anything we need to think about there?
Yeah, I've got a whole diatribe on this, but I think the foundation of it all is like, you have to figure out a way to attach partners within your system of record. Because my thought on this is like, all of your regular KPIs remain. You just have to figure out how partner attachment impacts those KPIs, whether it's acquisition, whether it's funnel performance, whether it's, churn and CAC and LTV. And like, if you can just figure out a way to understand like what partners are in a prospect / customer and which ones have we brought in actively within that cycle, then you can find a ton of insight as it pertains to what your program should look like and how it's performing.
I'm going to just go one level deeper because I agree partner attach is absolutely huge. Even Microsoft announced they're trying to get to 100% partner attach within the next period of time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not just partner attach, in my opinion. It's partner attach by stage. Where are they coming in and most beneficial and helpful? Are they top of funnel type partners? Are they middle or in?
Mm-hmm.
Because if I know that I've got a partner who can help me close a deal, that's a different call than a guy who says, hey, make an intro for me. So understand those metrics in my partners, how they influence and where actually makes that program so much more powerful.
I think that was what was kind of interesting about what Matt was saying about like the AWS and Microsoft and Google. Like, yes, they're a pain in the ass because they're juggernauts and they can be. Like, they can ask for whatever they want. But those companies play the long game better than anybody. Right? Like, sure, we'll give you paper, we'll give you this, we'll give you that. Like, only thing they're getting out of it is more cloud computing. Right?
Yeah.
And they know it. And that's a long ass game. Or, and it's just an interesting way to think about it. It's like you see the point there, Jed. Like, what kind of partner are they?
I think that's our time. Guys, you rock. You awesome. Definitely pulled on my heartstrings for sure. Craig did a good job for once. Just kidding, Craig. He always brings
I had to redirect because you kept wanting to go up and talk in the ivory tower. I was trying to bring everyone down. I deserve
to reality.
I deserve a guitar for that.
Guys, thank you so much for being here. Guys, as always, please come check out all the stuff. We've got amazing guests like this. Also, sometimes we just hang out and talk. So if there's also topics you want us to hit on and have conversation around, let us know. But with that, thank you guys for being here. And thank everybody for tuning in. And we'll see you guys soon. Have a happy holiday.
Thanks,
By the way, Judd, you do know that you've recorded an ending already that we play, and it's really it's even better than what you
now you have optionality.
Well, subscribe to the Cheat Code podcast
in the show notes. Thanks for tuning in to GTM Unfiltered. To hear our innovative insights and strategies, visit gtmunfiltered.com. Be sure to subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Until next time.